Okay, artificial intelligence. We're going to be talking for 30 minutes. It's propelling economic growth in ways that all of you know, but I want to check. How many of you feel really comfortable that you understand AI? Hands up, please. Really comfortable. Okay, that means half of you out of 30 do not really fully understand what AI is about, even though it is becoming an integral part of our lives and is about to come alive in a big, big way. There's a fascinating part of the title of this session, preparing for sentient AI. Now, even I, as an English speaker, thought I would just check what sentient is. And it is the need to be able to think, perceive, and feel, rather than simply using language in a highly natural way with compassion. Now, we won't need to work out where the limits are at the moment to AI and how fast everything is going. We've got 3 guests. We were to have more, but they're not here. So that means that all our guests have got more time to speak, but this is going to be under time pressure. In fact, it's going to be under AI time pressure. We've got to now say much more in less time. So that's a challenge for the AI minds that I have assembled with me. Mohammed, I want each of them to introduce themselves because they will make a better case for why they're here, what the work they're doing, and the relevance of their views to what you've all come to hear. Mohammed first.
Thank you, Nick. My name is Mohammed Al-Hussein. I'm the founder and CEO of Muzun. At Muzun, we create products in language intelligence and financial intelligence. Specifically, we help financial institutions combat financial crime. Over the last few years, I just want to take this opportunity to quickly highlight there's a huge transformation in how finance is happening. And COVID expedited the process of adopting technology.
All right, I want to just check what you do at the moment before we get into the implications of what you do. Rue.
So, hi, Nick, thanks, and everyone, hello, hi. So I'm founder of Amdena, and we are a platform for building AI for social good, engaging the community from all over the world.
And where are you based at the moment?
I personally am in Poland.
In Poland?
I am, but the company is a US company.
Now, it's important to know that you've been working on AI for at least 20 years. You've written books
15
as well.
years.
You were at Cambridge University. How much have you seen everything change in the last 3 or 4 years?
I think the application has changed a lot. A huge amount of everything we are using is kind of driven by AI in some way. So I think that really has affected our lives in every single way.
All right, Antonio Simeoni, welcome.
Welcome.
Tell us about yourself.
So I'm a founder and CEO of Euclid, a fund completely driven by AI and quantum mechanics, quantum field theory, complex fuzzy logic, and so on. And I'm also founder and CEO of Stone Prime, a fund that invests in the biotech sector thanks to the AI. I'm also professor of the course Data-Driven Model for Investments at the Luis Guido Cali University. And this is one of the most important universities in Italy.
What we now need to do in the next 25 minutes is work out the parameters, the limits, but also the excitement of where things are going. Rue, from your perspective, one of the things you want to emphasize is compassion, the need for AI to have human instincts, human feelings. Why do you say that?
Well, we are now using AI in almost every aspect of our lives. And it is actually going to make more and more decisions for us. And that's the fact. So I think that if we are able to build algorithms that somehow has compassion in us, are more ethical, I think we will make sure that the decisions these machines are going to make for us are be more just, will not be racist, will not be sexist. I think that's why it's so important that we start working on algorithms that are more compassionate so that we can, take care of our future better, basically.
Is this because you're saying that too much of AI is based essentially on data which is skewed one way or the other? In other words, we haven't yet adjusted the models that we're using and the data we're using.
Absolutely. So that's the first part. The data that the machines are trained on are biased. Why? Because humans are biased. It's basically that's the point is. So we put our biases in the data, and the data is biased, and the machines trained are being biased. So we need to get out from that environment of relying purely on the data generated by humans and somehow build solutions that have level of compassion and ethics in them inbuilt.
Right, Mohammed, what's your view of this kind of issue, of where the limits are or where the shortcomings certainly are at the moment with AI?
I think just kind of continuing the point that Ru is making, there are a lot of places right now where AI is applied and it's actually impacting people. For example, you can take the case of recruitments. Let's say we have the technology right now to build models that can help us identify great candidates for specific jobs, for example. And let's dig a bit further and say we want to identify great candidates for leadership jobs. If we don't pay attention to the point that Ru just made, which is bias, it's very easy to go and train a model on data where we go and look at the traits of great leaders in the past and very quickly start basically alienating women leaders. Because in those data sets, there weren't a lot of women leaders that were used in the training models.
Many people naturally say it's the algorithm, it's AI, but is AI really a good problem solver?
I mean, again, it's like any other technology. If you have the rigor, if you take into consideration the pitfalls that you can fall into, for example, in this specific case, biases in data, there are, on the other hand, wonderful examples of where AI is applied. I was mentioning at the beginning financial fraud. Right now, we're scrambling and people are pulling their hairs out in trying to combat financial fraud, and we're reaching a point where there's just too much data. And something like AI is actually probably very, very important to help combat.
Let me ask both of you before I go to Antonio, how much is AI reflecting human behavior, human aspects?
I think very much. And the simple example
You feel
is
comfortable by the level of comparison between AI and the human being? You feel comfortable with that at the moment?
well, I think that I feel comfortable in the way that we have to start building AI that are more compassionate, right? Currently it's not. It's just a pattern recognition tool in a way. And why it is affecting our lives in simple things, like I was giving the example of social media. A lot of our social media feed, what we see, what we consume, what we read, is driven by algorithms. And that makes our opinions. Now, the problem is that we see more and more happening, that the world is getting more and more divided, because we are being reinforced our own biases over and over again. And so we are not able to see others' opinions. And that creates a more divided world.
What do you think of that, Mohammed, particularly on the issue of ethics, on biases, on the fact that in many ways people will assume that AI is equaling them out or is somehow subverting them? What do you think?
I think it's the same point that we mentioned earlier, that definitely there are incredible ethical considerations that have to be considered. And the theme of the talk is sentient AI, which is...
Are you clear what that means?
I mean, we all can look up the definition of sentient and understand how complex it is to reach something like that. We're, on a path where AI is advancing. However, in technical terms, we're still working on what is called narrow AI, which is AI that solves one specific small problem. Now, this is very, very good. It's very, it's very hard also, and it's very impactful. But to reach a point where we can solve AGI, artificial general intelligence, there's going to still be a lot of R&D. Now, when and if we reach a point where we can have machines that can feel, that can think, that can do all these great things that are definitely borderline science fiction at the moment, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, that's something yet to be seen, in my opinion.
Let's go to Antonio. Your work and the companies you've been involved in have been about investment. You need the best data possible. What is your assessment of the quality of data and how it's biased?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the metaverse, no? An avatar. If I'm an AI avatar and I don't know, I'm speaking with racist avatars, so I became racist. This is the problem, no? For the quality of data.
Is there clear evidence of that?
Yeah.
Something like racism?
Yeah,
Something like gender bias?
Yes. And for training, the quality of data, it's very, very important because for that.
And have you got ways of screening the fact that there is a bias?
Yes.
Identifying it?
Yes.
It's easy to identify, is it? How do you do it?
It's not simple. AI will help human to understand it, to recognize it, this data.
But when it comes to investment and the kind of way forward, how quickly is this changing in your view, particularly when it comes to the challenges now for society, understanding the kind of new inequalities which could be emerging?
I'm thinking about my experience, no? In my case, in my sector, we are replacing people, human people, no? In case of the biotech sector, we are replacing, 1,000 of scientific researchers or traders. So this is a negative impact of inequality. But on the other side, there is a positive impact because I invest in a biotech company, for example, and they are using AI to reduce the cost of the drugs, for example, for the poorest country. And another side, there are two experiments to AI based on to understand who pay taxes or not. So based on the scoring system and the other factors. So there are a lot of AI that help us to reduce the inequality.
And from your experience, particularly as a professor, and what you're doing on data, is this changing very fast? I mean, we've got quantum mechanics, quantum computing coming in. Is that meaning that there's got to be significant speeding up of the work?
Yeah, this is not the future. This is the present. This is the present because a lot of hedge funds, a lot of funds, a lot of biotech companies works with the quantum computing to study, to analyze the molecules, to study and analyze the micropart into the historical data, into the time series. So you can, now we are talking about the future, but in finance, the future is now. So the quantum computing changing everything, I think.
Ruan Mohammed, let's build on some examples. You've got one or two examples of how there definitely is bias in the retail sector, for example.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, it's all to do with human biases and reflecting those biases in data. So what you were talking about, recruitment sector is one example. One of the big tech companies built the AI tool to hire people in the tech sector. And it's obviously known that the data was biased because there's a preference of hiring males over female in tech sector. The problem is that the machine built on the data and end up being sexist. How easy it is to detect this kind of biases, I would say that it's actually not that easy. I mean, it relies still on the humans to identify the biases.
So AI can't yet identify the biases?
No, it's the humans still have to identify the biases and then de-bias the data. Now that's the problem. That's why we need the machines to be more intelligent, more smarter, so that potentially they don't have to rely on a human to de-bias the data. Because the moment a human does not identify the biases, we end up building machines which are sexist and racist, and that's why even the big tech companies end up building solutions that are biased.
So, Mohammed, I saw you nodding there.
Well, just kind of also building on humans. A lot of people, when they think of AI, we picture this magic box that, does things on its own. When, if we look at practical examples, how and when AI is used, it's usually augmenting people as opposed to replacing them. So there's a thing that's called human in the loop. So how do you create a loop where, let's say there are 10 things somebody has to do to accomplish a task. 9 of them might be, things that we can train a model to do, and we leave that one very, very critical thing for a person to do. And, as we become less, romantic in thinking of how AI is going to replace, jobs, processes, we start to become more, I believe, practical and realistic in how we can leverage this technology for solving problems. All the way, again, leading to the topic of sentience.
Let me just remind you, we're here to talk about sentient AI, and that's why our guests have come to listen. Let me keep pushing at that line that you were trying to identify there, Ru, the difference or the line between AI and the ability and the need for humans still. I just remind you the sentient is a need to be able to think, perceive and feel in a certain way. Do we have agreement here that actually there are limits for AI being able to replace humans? Antonio?
Yeah, to replace a human, we have to replace our brain. So we know that human brain works like a quantum computing. A paper said this. So now, in this moment, AI, could replace the human in many tasks, but just in the task, not in sentiment, not in romantic, not in sensitive areas. So, for example, a bacteria could be more sensitive than AI, or an animal. Can you give to the eye emotion, for example? Yeah, but we are replacing our emotion. So he learns about our emotion. For example, AI can create a picture or could be an artist. But I remember Leonardo da Vinci or other artists, they are the talent, and the talent is linked to the emotion. So now, for me, it's impossible, it's an utopia, but in the future, could be, but in this case, AI, if replace our emotion, we, we will do it.
Do we have agreement here? Ru, do you agree with what Antonio said?
So my point would be that human intelligence is way more sophisticated than simple emotions or analysis.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the highest level of human intelligence is intuition.
Yeah.
Which I think is very difficult even for humans to understand where does the intuition come from. We meet someone, we have an intuition. We don't know where it comes from. So I do not think we can expect a machine to build intuition, or at least that level of intelligence. Emotions, I think, is possible because emotions are still based on certain patterns. While talking about the feelings of AI, what I actually want to talk about is building AI that are more compassionate. I think that we shouldn't think about replacing humans in every aspect of intelligence in the AI, but at least build machines that are more compassionate. Why is that important? So that the machines can start identifying the biases in the data, can be at least somewhat more intelligent than relying on humans to just purely identify the biases and build those.
Well, let's go into that in a moment, but Mohammed, again, the limits of AI's ability compared to a human being.
I
you
think
agree
I'm,
with Antonio?
Yeah, I think I'm on the more conservative side in terms of where are we right now. I think I'll take you through a simple experiment. Parts of achieving advanced stages of intelligence for machines is language. You would expect an intelligent machine to understand simple commands. I was talking with my colleague, Mohammed Ibrahim, the other day. He's very passionate about language, of course. And he gave me a great example. Would you trust a machine right now where you have your child and some dishes next to a dishwasher? And let's say you have this robot that is intelligent. Would you say, put it in the dishwasher to understand the context and not pick up the child and pick up the dishes? We're not there yet. And this is very, very simple, which is context. We still are not at a stage where, our language models, our understanding of language is advanced to where machines would understand these things.
It's still not at the stage. Look, I'm the informed layman here. I'm asking the questions for the people here who don't really understand AI and have come to learn more. But when we talk about so readily machine learning, when we see the automation which is going on in many factories and in offices as well, in other words, machines are replacing humans on things which have to be repeated. Are you perhaps being a bit limited, a human limited, in your assessment of where the machine could get to, the AI could get to, very quickly?
I think, again, specific problems that can be solved by AI, I think we're doing great. General intelligence, things that can tackle many different problems that are not related, I think we're still not there yet.
Rue.
Yeah, that I agree, that it's a research field, but if we are looking at the future, I do not think we are that far behind. I think in 5 to 10 years, we can talk about machines that can feel, that can make better decisions than humans, but it's still, we are building that up, yes.
But let me say, it's easy to say 5 to 10 years because it's sufficiently in the distance to not actually be needed to be tied down. Could it be that it all happens much quicker?
It can. I mean, it's hard for me to predict the future. It's possible.
What do you think, Antonio?
Yeah, I'm worried.
Worried why?
Worried about the sentient AI, because
You're for it or against it, or worried that we're saying the wrong thing, asking the wrong question, the right question? Tell me.
no, because if they are replacing our emotion, our intelligence, I don't know what's happening. We don't know. So the question is AI will be always useful for us or not? This is my question.
Okay, in the last 5 minutes, what are the implications for society here?
Yeah.
Easy for me to say society, we're all part of society. But what are the implications, do you think, in terms of where power is, where influence is, where so much of what we take for granted, we've seen the way in which COVID has already affected it, we've seen the way the climate emergency is pulling stuff apart, we're seeing what's happened economically. But what about when it comes to AI and algorithms and the impact that is likely on society, particularly those who are far less fortunate and struggling? We know there are many more people who are struggling. It was said this morning, another 500 million, I think, who are struggling on food at the moment, Rue.
So I think that we have a very good opportunity to use AI to help the people that have been left out in the society. I think the AI could be used to create a more just society.
What do you mean by just, though?
Well, that creates equal opportunities for all, that doesn't have the biases that humans have. We have built a world where there's a lot of decisions being taken by people who are biased, preferring one over another. I think we have the opportunity to build this world where the machines are not biased. And that's the world that I hope we will end up building.
But can you see the dangers for society at the moment?
Absolutely.
Just give me a picture of where you think this could be in 2 or 3, 4, 5 years' time.
Well, there are two sides of AI. One, we can end up building more and more biased AI, which is dividing the society more and more. That's one side of the AI world. The other side is where we build AI that is more ethical, that's more just, that's actually creating equal opportunities and not have the biases. Where we will go, I do not know. At least I'm in the side trying to build a good AI. I hope we all can work towards building that side.
Mohammed.
I think, again, we're, if we take a step back, we're replacing a lot of mundane decisions that affects people's life with AI agents. If I go to a bank and get a loan, if I can get FaceTime with a loan officer, talk, argue my case, that's one thing. If I don't have a chance, right? If a model is built that defines this is a good person to loan to and this is a bad person to loan to, we have to examine how that model is built, right?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mohammed.
No, go ahead.
What do you think, Antonio, about the impact on society?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a single noun on society, but you know what I mean, because there are so many multiple elements to what society is.
Yeah, if I don't remember bad, UN are using machine learning and NLP to understand the hate speech on radio, on television, on the social platform to reduce the conflict. Or, for example, using NLP in the social debate in the poorest country. Or another example, convolutional networks with the drones and satellite to understand the movements of the population near the sea, near the water in the Africa. So I can understand, if I am an AI, what is the weather and the conflicts are in this area.
All right,
so I can predict.
we're almost out of time. There's just one other issue, ethics. We've sort of been skirting around that, but where do you think we are on ethics when it comes to AI, Mohammed?
Again, AI is a fast advancing field, and I think the ethical discussion is catching up. So just here in Saudi, a few weeks ago, Sadaya, which is the organization responsible for AI in the country, organized a great workshop on ethical consideration, bringing in people from academia and industry to discuss it. So I think it's a relevant topic, and people are talking about it.
How urgent do you think it is to have commonly held AI ethical principles?
And sorry.
Common AI ethical principles.
Okay, I think I am a scientist. I would like to talk with the policymakers. So there will be a bridge, scientists, policymaker, and companies, to write a framework that consent to companies and scientists to have the limit and the reducing the problems.
And so they've got to do that quickly.
Yeah.
Final word, Ru, your view on ethical principles, on common ethical principles, if it's possible.
It is possible and it's very important. We need to start doing that very soon, because otherwise we are going to go into the wrong bad AI side. So we are not there yet, but I see that more and more people are talking about it. That's the stage we are in now. Politicians are talking about it, companies are talking about it, conferences are talking about it, and I hope in the next, very soon, we'll start building those framework.
All right, well, look, thank you all very much indeed. For those of you who came not knowing much about AI, who feels better informed about where the frontiers are now? Hands up, any? Have we one, at least one? That's a relief. Two? Anyone else?
We'll
Three,
take
four,
three.
five.
That's fine.
The president of Boeing thinks as well. Thank you, Michael. Well, look, thank you very much indeed. We've covered an awful lot. Antonio, Ru, and Mohammed. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.